Tonight, an accused gunman taken down. Exclusive new details about his violent rampage.
He's literally kicked my back door in and he's waving a gun around.
Inflation falls to a 3-year low. Why homeowners are being told it's all an illusion.
Tributes for the young boy run down and killed in his school playground.
Why a Townsville woman doesn't blame the dog that tore off her arm.
New evidence, bright lights at night could be taking a serious health toll.
And we have your ultimate Halloween guide to the southeast's spookiest streets.
Live from Brisbane, 7 News with Sarah Greenhalgh and Max Futcher.
Good evening. The man accused of holding an Ipswich mother at gunpoint in front of her young son is tonight in custody after his dramatic arrest on the Sunshine Coast.
We have new details tonight about his alleged rampage, including his desperate attempts to flee police.
There's probably about 10 police officers and a couple of ambulance emergency crew.
Cornered in a driveway, the end to a violent rampage.
They stole a car and then went on a massive crime spree, and they ended up crashing on the Bruce Highway.
Arrested in the Noosa hinterland, a man accused of holding up a mother at gunpoint in front of her 9-year-old son in their Ipswich home.
Heard the police yelling at their sky with no shirt on and get on the ground, get on the ground.
7 News can reveal the accused, Ethan William Scully, is also accused of a violent robbery in Hillcrest the day before.
He's literally kicked my back door in and he's waving a gun around.
Taking Chris Clark's Mitsubishi Lancer and crashing it on the Bruce Highway.
How does it make you feel seeing it like this?
Very angry. So I've done multiple modifications inside, out, everywhere.
That's when the 23-year-old is accused of taking the Mazda, using it as a getaway car in the Ipswich hold-up, crashing it too on the Bruce Highway yesterday afternoon. Scully was arrested more than a kilometre away from the crash site. He allegedly ran off through bushland and hid in a resident's shed.
When we'd found out that the fella they had eventually taken into custody had a gun, that's when we started to get a little bit concerned.
He remains in custody tonight, facing several serious charges. Jordan Bissell, 7 News.
It looks like borrowers will still have to wait for a mortgage cut despite Australia's best inflation numbers in 3 years. The annual rate slowed to 2.8% in the September quarter as power and petrol prices tumbled. But economists say the Reserve Bank won't cut yet because the figures aren't what they seem.
A plea from mortgage holders: don't move the goalposts.
People feel fed up.
Prices barely rising in September, bringing the annual rate of inflation within the target band the Reserve Bank said would trigger rate relief.
We're saying it's time for the RBA to cut interest rates.
Not so fast.
The headline rate has been brought down almost artificially
by government power rebates and lower petrol prices.
Temporary subsidies will not hoodwink the Reserve Bank of Australia.
Our policies, including our energy rebates, are making a meaningful difference, but they don't explain all of the moderation in today's figures.
The Treasurer banking the win.
Inflation is back in the band. We are on track for a soft landing in our economy.
But a slow one with no rate cut this year.
The clawback in spending is being acutely felt at Australia's largest supermarket, Woolworths, today issuing a profit warning.
The fresh food people not so flush, revising down its profit for the first half of the financial year as customers hunt for bargains.
When they're on sale is always good.
They're switching to lower value items, which reflects or impacts the profitability.
Do you feel like you're spending less each shop?
Yeah.
But not every customer is as cost conscious.
We're buying ice cream.
Do you care how much the ice cream costs?
Say no. No.
The Reserve Bank will announce its next rate decision on Tuesday, Melbourne Cup Day, and my bet is they remain steady. In fact, late this afternoon, the Commonwealth Bank joined the other big four banks in postponing its interest rate cut expectations until next year. The consensus now is we won't see any relief until February at the earliest. Max?
Thanks, Amelia. A Gold Coast man has been left traumatised after waking up to find thugs holding a screwdriver to his throat. Sam Payne is following this story for us tonight. Sam, they were demanding his car keys.
Yes, Max, and the details are terrifying. 5 masked thieves were captured on security camera entering the property holding knives and screwdrivers. It's understood they then broke in through the back door before making their way into the victim's bedroom and threatening him. The man doesn't want to be identified, so we spoke with him over the phone and he recounted this harrowing experience.
They were pointing screwdrivers to my face and threatening to kill me if I moved. But yeah, it was a horrible experience, and I hope no one ever has to go through that.
The thieves stole his Subaru and took off. No arrests have been made.
Sam Payne on the Gold Coast.
There are tributes and tears tonight for 11-year-old Jack Davey, killed when a driver slammed into his Melbourne schoolyard. His death has sent shockwaves across the country, while 4 of Jack's young friends face a long recovery in hospital.
Jack Davey's heartbroken grandmother thought he was safe inside the schoolyard, but he wasn't. The 11-year-old's family, friends and community are struggling to comprehend his tragic death.
I have no words, to be honest with you. They're the most beautiful family.
He was sitting with friends when an out-of-control car veered into the group of grade 5s. 4 children were seriously injured, police describing the crash as a tragic accident.
My daughter saw a little bit something and she's keep telling me I saw blood.
Today we're learning more about what happened in the lead up to the crash and the woman behind the wheel. 7 News has been told her children also attend the primary school. It's understood the mother of 3 recently got her licence but has a clean driving history.
Official investigations have been commenced by Victoria Police.
Before the crash, the 40-year-old driver was called to the school for a 2-hour meeting. But what happened when she was behind the wheel is still unknown. Jack was a talented young athlete. He played indoor soccer, basketball and football. From his club, it is with heavy hearts and the deepest sadness that we try to process what has happened. The tragic events yesterday have impacted so many in our local community. A community united in grief for a little boy lost. Cassie Zervos, 7 News.
Labor has retained one of the most hotly contested seats of the election. Let's go to Mel Whiteman on the Gold Coast. Mel, Bianca Stone has conceded.
4 days after Queenslanders went to the polls, Max, the former TV journalist finally called Megan Scanlon today to concede defeat in the seat of Gavin. In a post to social media, Stone thanked her family and volunteers for a hard-fought campaign. It was a tight, tough contest. As of a short time ago, more than 85% of ballots had been counted, Megan Scanlon leading by an estimated 370 votes. The incumbent and former housing minister is the only Labor MP on the Gold Coast. 10 other seats across the city were all won comfortably by the LNP.
I got into politics because I want to make a difference. I want to represent the people that I grew up with and love, and I want them to be proud of their elected representative.
As for Bianca Stone, she says she's looking forward to a couple of days off before diving into a new challenge.
Thanks, Mel.
The landmark report into Australia's handling of COVID-19 has stirred up a hornet's nest with demands for those behind lockdowns to be held to account. Jacqueline Robson joins us in the studio. Jackie, there are calls for a royal commission.
Well, among the chorus, Sarah and Max, is Queensland Senator Matthew Canavan, who says the inquiry didn't go far enough. The probe wasn't supposed to examine state governments, but came down hard on premiers who were too heavy-handed, including our former Premier Anastasia Palaszczuk. The report was critical of harsh border closures that went on too long and unnecessary state school closures. There are demands for open public hearings.
The Australian public has not been able to see and hear directly from the decision makers who made those mistakes.
We reached out to the former Premier Palaszczuk, Health Minister at the time Stephen Miles, the former Border Commissioner Steve Golczewski and the former Chief Health Officer Jeanette Young. None were available today. The current Cho told us he's reviewing the 26 recommendations. Sarah and Max.
All right, thanks, Jackie. A man has been charged, accused of trafficking $2.6 million worth of drugs into Queensland.
Got a large box in the back seat. There appears to be numerous packages disguised as possibly like a coffee bean. Can you tell me what's in those packages?
Police allege 30 kilograms of methamphetamine was being concealed. The 33-year-old suspect was arrested on the border along the New England Highway near Wollongara. He's facing a string of serious charges.
The Raymond Park community is gearing up for round 2 of their fight against a Gabba rebuild. The new state government took Cusack off the table but hasn't ruled out using the Gabba as the main Olympics venue.
When their local school and park was slated for demolition, the East Brisbane community rallied.
What do we do when East Brisbane is under attack? Stand up and fight back!
Rebuilding the Gabba was quickly scrapped when Stephen Miles became Premier. Now communities fear they're back to square one.
We were still unclear about the future of the school, and now there's suggestion that the Gabba may actually be demolished and rebuilt after all.
Gearing up for round 2 against a new state government. The future of the Gabba to be considered as part of the LNP's 100-day review. After David Crisafulli's cabinet is sworn in, an independent infrastructure coordination authority will be set up within a month. The government saying the school community will have the opportunity to engage as part of the review.
And we'd love for the Gabba to be an Olympic venue. We just don't want it to be used for the main athletic stadium because that involves destroying 2 local schools, 2 local parks.
The LNP government has already ruled out using Cusack as the main Olympic venue, and it's highly unlikely it will play any role at all in the 2032 Games. There are also no plans for a new stadium at Victoria Park, but that didn't stop opponents asking the Lord Mayor to clarify his stance.
And I'm not ruling anything in or out while that 100-day review is underway.
While communities are looking forward to more clarity. Rosanna Kingson, 7 News.
4 Vietnamese nationals are tonight facing deportation after working on a sophisticated cannabis farm on the Fraser Coast. The men were granted suspended sentences after pleading guilty in the Brisbane District Court. They were arrested during a raid on a property at Gungaloon near Maryborough last November. More than $60 million worth of cannabis, cash and equipment was seized.
The National Anti-Corruption Watchdog is reconsidering its own decision not to investigate the robo-debt scandal. A review discovered a conflict of interest, finding Commissioner Paul Brereton should have stood aside because he knew someone involved. An independent figure will decide on a new investigation into robo-debt, which clawed back Centrelink debts from thousands of Australians.
Hezbollah's new leader has a target on his back, with Israel warning he won't have the job for long after wiping out most of the terror group's leadership.
Dozens more people have been killed in the latest round of attacks on Lebanon, but there is hope tonight for some form of peace.
Bulldozers removed debris at the site of a devastating Israeli bombardment. 60 people died in this aerial assault on the Bekaa Valley. Dozens more injured, including women and children trapped under levelled buildings. At least 8 more civilians killed in Israeli rocket fire in the southern town of Sidon as the campaign intensifies against militant group Hezbollah. It's appointed its new leader, Sheikh Naim Qassem, recently celebrating the October 7 attacks.
It was an exceptional event. I can say that it was the beginning of the change to the face of the Middle East.
The Shiite cleric served as Hezbollah's second-in-command since 1991, one of the few surviving figures able to succeed assassinated former leader Hassan Nasrallah. Israeli Defence Minister Yoav Gallant ominously tweeting, "Temporary appointment, not for long." The destruction grows in northern Gaza too, an Israeli strike killing 90 Palestinians overnight.
We are witnessing not only a horrific humanitarian nightmare, but a rapidly accelerating and unravelling of the prospects for a sustainable resolution to this conflict.
The IDF claims it's destroyed most of the terrorist infrastructure in Lebanon, opening the door to a withdrawal and possible ceasefire. In London, Ben Downey, 7 News.
Kamala Harris has delivered her closing argument to the American people as she fights to become their next president. The Democratic nominee chose a significant location to draw comparisons between her leadership and her rivals.
Against a presidential backdrop.
Good evening, America!
A power move by Kamala Harris.
We are not going back.
To reclaim and redefine a location tainted by violence 4 years ago.
He is the person who stood at this very spot nearly 4 years ago and sent an armed mob.
This is where Donald Trump gave a very different speech.
I know that everyone here will soon be marching over to the Capitol building.
In the dying days of his administration.
And if you don't fight like hell, you're not going to have a country anymore.
Tonight, though, the former prosecutor delivering her closing argument to a crowd of at least 60,000 supporters.
Each of you has the power to turn the page and start writing the next chapter in the most extraordinary story ever told.
It's now been 100 days since Vice President Harris sensationally rose to the top of her party's ticket after an internal pressure campaign to dump President Biden. A brutal election season twist that 7 days out, Donald Trump doesn't want America to forget.
They stole it. They went in like taking candy from a baby.
Trump still defending his own final address at Madison Square Garden and the controversial opening acts that dialed up the racism and vitriol.
It was like a love fest, an absolute love fest.
What did you make of the Puerto Rican comments?
It wasn't a joke for us. We took it very seriously, and we are going to vote to make sure that we take the real trash out.
As Joe Biden's take,
the only garbage I see floating out there is his supporters.
It's not in line with the message of unity Harris was sending tonight.
For too long, we have been consumed with too much division.
In this 50-50 race.
Are you confident? Yes! Most definitely. Yes! The next president.
In Washington, D.C., David Woywood, 7 News.
And this Sunday night, a special edition of Spotlight covering the race to the White House. 7's live coverage of the US presidential election count begins at 11:30 next Wednesday morning. It's weather time now, and Tony, still a few thunderstorms inland today.
Yes, Max, we didn't notice much on the coast, but we did actually have severe storm warnings issued for a cell running north from Crow's Nest to areas near Blackbutt this afternoon. They have since been cancelled, but we can expect a slight bump in activity tomorrow before Friday is narrowing down as the most active storm day of the week. I'll be back soon with the forecast.
See you then, Tony. Thank you. More names have been added to the list of politicians accepting those perks from Qantas. The new details next.
Watch as an attempt to torch a vape shop backfires.
$bucks discovery, another breakthrough in the Bluey coins heist.
And later, how your lights are harming your health.
In 7 News, migraines, they cripple millions of us.
They can be quite debilitating.
Now, the latest research identifying the best affordable treatment.
It blocks the start of the migraine process itself.
Living a life migraine-free.
It's made a huge difference to me.
On 7 News, coming up.
Hundreds of angry workers have descended on BHP's AGM in Brisbane, demanding the mining giant stops fighting the same job, same pay laws.
They will tell them our same job, same pay is going to cost them $1.3 billion a year. That just tells me they know how much they're ripping the workers off.
With same job, same pay, we're seeing a further increase in average wages with no commensurate positive impact on productivity.
Climate protesters also crashed the meeting at the showgrounds.
A man's attempted to torch a vape shop and it's backfired after he set himself on fire. He drove a ute into the Perth shop early Friday morning, setting it alight and running off. He's accused of causing $500,000 worth of damage to the business.
The Prime Minister has hit back, claiming he never called Alan Joyce to ask for his Qantas flights to be upgraded.
He's facing calls to be investigated, but in a twist, the anti-corruption watchdog might not be up to the task because its commissioners are all members of the airline's Chairman's Lounge.
Keeping the faith. Labor ministers out today searching for a miracle.
I'm just focused on my day job.
Standing by Anthony Albanese.
How solid is Cabinet support for him?
Oh, completely solid.
Amid allegations he solicited free Qantas upgrades from Alan Joyce dating back to 2009 when he was Transport Minister.
Isn't that unethical conduct?
I don't believe so.
I actually think this whole matter is a really significant beat-up.
That is a clear breach of a ministerial code of conduct.
The coalition threatening a referral to the corruption watchdog.
What were the circumstances around the Prime Minister's decision to not allow Qatar Airways into Australia? Reduced competition and therefore has held up the prices of airfares for too long.
Since then, 7 Labor ministers have been upgraded by Qantas. Even watchdog commissioners are members of its chairman's lounge themselves.
It seems that everyone's a member of the Qantas chairman's lounge except me. Why don't they offer me a membership? I'll do anything you want.
The Prime Minister insists this is not a story, but months out from the federal election, the optics aren't good. The gift of the grab, failing to pass the pub test.
I think it stinks. I think it's pretty typical of most politicians. Probably vote for someone else.
Isabel Mullen, 7 News.
A huge haul of stolen limited edition Bluey coins has been discovered in a Sydney storage unit just hours after yesterday morning's arrest of a third suspect. More than 40,000 coins were recovered after the Strikeforce bandit executed a search warrant. That's 2/3 of the original haul stolen from a warehouse in July.
Botox is becoming one of the most effective treatments for the millions of Australians who suffer from migraines. And there are ways for patients to get it through Medicare rebates. Don't miss that story, coming up soon.
Also, her dog mauled her arm, but she doesn't blame him. Hear from the Townsville woman injured in a vicious attack.
Just seconds from disaster, tourists flee as a roof is sent flying.
The new rules forcing airlines to pay up for cancelled or disrupted flights.
And inside the southeast's scariest homes for Halloween.
A Townsville woman whose arm was bitten off by her pet dog has defended the vicious attack that almost cost her life.
She says she doesn't blame the animal and her biggest regret is not keeping him safe from police.
Anne-Marie Walters is home, healing and ready to tell her story.
I'm a positive person and I keep positive. Sometimes I have my moments, when nobody's looking.
On October 11, she says her dog Buddy was sent into a frenzy by a neighbour banging on her door. The lock had been broken, so she grabbed Buddy to restrain him.
And then that was it, he locked on to my arm.
Buddy wouldn't let go, so she tried shutting the door with him still attached to keep him inside.
The whole time he had his eyes closed, so he didn't, I have no doubt in my mind he didn't know it was me.
A neighbour who was trying to help threw a knife over the fence. Anne-Marie says Buddy had once been stabbed with a knife during a robbery and that's when he snapped.
He went psychotic. I've never seen anything like it. It wasn't the same dog, it was not him anymore.
She says she lost more than 2 litres of blood and somehow managed to call 000.
Dog attack, wearing a pit bull attack in program.
When my crews arrived there, the dog was still very angry and aggressive.
Police say they had no choice but to put the animal down.
My biggest regret is not keeping him safe, he ran to my room to hide.
Anne-Marie says she purchased Buddy from a backyard breeder and now wants stricter laws around selling and purchasing animals. Katrina Blowers, 7 News.
China is tonight celebrating the successful launch of its youngest ever space crew to its orbiting space station. The 3-person crew includes China's first female astronaut. She's one of 2 on board, born in 1990. They'll spend 6 months in space, the latest step in China's aim of sending a mission to the moon by 2030. A split-second decision to run may have saved these tourists' lives. Strong winds whipped a corrugated iron roof onto a beach in Brazil. The group managed to escape just before it landed right from where they'd been standing.
New refund rules are in place for travellers flying to the US. Airlines must pay up for cancelled or delayed flights, with deadlines now enforced. Aviation editor Blake Johnson explains.
The new rules are enforced by the US government. They affect all airlines flying to or from the States, including Qantas. They must provide automatic refunds to passengers if a flight is delayed or significantly changed. That's defined as 6 hours for international flights. Announcing the new policy, the US Transport Secretary says airlines are required to provide prompt cash refunds without passengers having to ask. The rules enforce a new deadline for reimbursements: 7 days for credit card purchases, 20 days for other payment methods like frequent flyer points. Qantas says it already refunds passengers whose flights are delayed or cancelled, but now it has a set time frame in which to complete those refunds if it's a flight to or from the US.
Thanks, Blake. There's just one sleep until the southeast turns spooky for Halloween. Tonight, we have your guide to trick-or-treating and where you can expect a good jump scare.
Beware if you dare. The nightmare on Langland Street at Chuwa is sure to give you goosebumps.
Pretty much all year round. I'm collecting bits and pieces and things that from America take a bit longer to come.
From skeletons to haunting music, everything inside will make you jump.
Everybody gets excited about the night.
If you really want to make the most of the festivities, the best time to come is after dark. Sharon's Haunted House is open until 10 p.m, with the jump scares running all night long.
We're raising money for Ipswich Hospice, a great cause.
On the Gold Coast, 10,000 braved this house of horrors in Pacific Pines last year.
It takes 12 months. At least for planning.
Other spooky displays include the haunted graveyard on Coolabah Street, Barden, Ben Lamond Mansion in Aspley, Beetlejuice House on Thistle Street, Ormiston, and Witch's Fright at Mansfield. And of course, no Halloween night is complete without a costume. Costume Closet at Ipswich is open for business if you're still looking.
Clowns have been really popular this year, hugely. The other ones are just your orange jumpsuits, always a must for everyone, and priests and nuns.
With only one sleep until the terror takes over. Anna McGraw, 7 News.
And the scariest thing is all the kids full of sugar.
And Adam, the cameraman's costume.
Adam, the cameraman. Shocker. Bright lights are cutting life expectancy by as much as 5 years. Next, the hacks for better health.
Plus, tributes for young Frankenstein actress Terry Garr.
Fabric, feathers and flowers. Meet the women creating their own Cup Day fashion.
And Ray Gun challenges everyday Aussies to a dance-off. The federal government's plan to cap international student numbers from next year has forced job cuts at a Gold Coast university. 46 staff, including 12 lecturers, are expected to be made redundant at Griffith in the coming weeks.
In some cases, we're not winding up whole degrees, but we might be particular courses or particular majors that we're pulling back on.
Ongoing migration reforms have seen international student numbers at the university plummet 36% this year.
Bright nights and dark days are boosting your chances of an early grave.
Australian researchers have found our lighting habits are throwing off our body clocks and our well-being.
It's a simple switch that could add years to your life.
People are a lot more sensitive to light than we previously thought.
Researchers at Flinders University studied more than 13 million hours of light recordings from 89,000 people and found using bright lights at night is dimming our life expectancy.
People who had very bright light exposure during the night had about a 30% increased risk of dying per year.
Here's why the big light should be banned. Much better. How are you supposed to relax in this? So much better, in my opinion.
The big light is a big problem, disrupting circadian rhythms, which can lead to various health issues, including diabetes, obesity, and cardiovascular disease.
We seem to function best when we get very bright days, as much sunlight as you can, and very dark nights.
So you really want to aim for warm lighting, so that creates more of an ambient mood, nice and calming and nice and soft.
Dimming or turning off the overhead lights and opting for softer lamps of an evening will not only keep your body clock on track, but can also help get the kids to bed earlier.
Kids are very sensitive to these effects of light. We should embrace the darkness.
And avoid lights out. Georgia Holland, 7 News.
American actress Terry Garr has died at the age of 79. She was best known for her comedic roles in Young Frankenstein and Tootsie. The Oscar-nominated actress had been battling multiple sclerosis for more than 20 years.
Reagan has challenged her critics to a dance-off as part of a global promotion. In an Instagram video, the Olympian busts a move, daring anyone who's game to submit their own breakdancing clips.
Think you can do better? Let's find out.
I'm keen to see that. The competition is a collaboration with finder.com.au with up to $15,000 up for grabs.
The new used car safety ratings have been released, with some of the country's most popular vehicles put through a spectacular crash test, and the results will surprise you. That story is just ahead on 7 News.
Sport time now, and Webby, there's a used halfback on the market.
Ben Hunt, Sarah, and he comes with a lot of mileage. Hello everyone, the future of the Maroon stalwart is next. Why the Queensland PGA is no gimme for Australia's highest paid athlete. And foul play, a Yankees fan tries to snatch back baseball's World Series. The path is clear for Ben Hunt's homecoming. The Kangaroos and Maroons veteran finalising a bitter divorce from the Dragons this morning. But Mitch Crone, there's only one suitor north of the border.
Well, so far only the Dolphins have publicly expressed any interest, Webby, but insist they're yet to formally speak with the now ex-Dragons captain, who's still in New Zealand after the Kangaroos-Kiwis clash. Now, Hunt wants to finish his career in Queensland, but will have to take a hefty pay cut to do so. The 35-year-old's now voided Red V contract was worth almost $1 million next year, but his management's told 7 News they know the halves market value won't be the same. And of the 4 Queensland clubs, only Redcliffe have significant salary cap space.
Oh, I think he'd be a perfect fit for the Dolphins, and they need experience. They're losing one of their captains, Jesse Bromwich. They need that little bit of an X factor, and he provides that.
Webby, given this has all played out just 2 days before the NRL's free agency frenzy, it's no stretch to say Hunt may have an idea of where he'll end up.
I think you're right, Mitch. Well, Brisbane's Nathan McSweeney is running towards, not from, the fight to be Australia's next Test opener, which ramps up tomorrow in Mackay. The Australian A captain's gone from a smoky to a special to partner Usman Khawaja for this summer's India series.
Great Barrier Reef Stadium in Mackay. A great showing against India A tomorrow, and Nathan McSweeney could be striding out against India for real.
There's so many guys that are playing well, and hopefully we can all take it and make it a really hard job for the selectors.
Humbled, lifting others up. Easy to see why he's been earmarked as a future Test captain. Those other guys, Bancroft, Harris and teenage sensation Sam Constance. But none have had the start to the summer McSweeney has, averaging 107.
Being talked about, play for your country is a great honour, and try and embrace that, the chat, and all I can do is prepare as best I can.
4 top order players, 1 spot. Selectors will decide tomorrow's batting lineup.
Batting 3, South Australia, and pretty much my whole career, it's not too dissimilar to opening. I feel like you could be in there the first over the game. All my preps with the new ball, and so I feel like my game's ready.
So, with the heat this evening at Allan Border Field, sent in by the Renegades.
And Grace Harris, first ball, straight over long on, what a way to get off the mark.
But that was her only contribution with the bat as Brisbane hunt back-to-back wins. Ben Davis, 7 News.
He might be Australia's highest paid athlete and one of the world's best golfers, but Cam Smith admits to feeling the weight of expectation playing at a suburban Brisbane course tomorrow. Headlining the Queensland PGA, the British Open winner was a teenager the last time he teed it up at Nudgee.
just thought it was a great opportunity to kind of help out the Aussie Tour and then also kind of keep the competitive reps going before the couple of big ones at the end of the year.
As for the expectation, the former world number 2 will blitz it.
I would say I've got the most pressure on me out of everyone. You know, I've played with a lot of these guys growing up and they're really talented golfers as well, so it is going to take some of my best stuff this week to get the job done.
A mad Broncos fan, Smith was hoping to have Adam Reynolds as caddy, but he's on holidays. The call's been made. Cox Plate winner Via Sistina won't run in Tuesday's Melbourne Cup. It gives international pin-up jockey Joe Moreira a better shot at finally claiming the race that stops the nation. But first, he's riding the favourite in Saturday's $10 million Golden Eagle.
The Golden Eagle ruffled more than a few feathers during last night's barrier draw.
You ever been to a barrier draw like that?
No. This morning, international raiders grabbed the prize, grips loosened by barrier gates, most starting wide in the 20-horse field.
We're not out in the car park, which is which some of our other internationals are.
Barrier 17 for boom Japanese filly Ascoli Pacino, no problem for jockey Joe Moreira.
If I was to pick a ride, she's no doubt would be the one.
A globe-trotting superstar, the Brazilian lives for races like the Golden Eagle. Moreira's main mission may be Saturday's $10 million Golden Eagle, then next Tuesday, Flemington, for an elusive Melbourne Cup. Twice runner-up, only last year Moreira ran second on Solcombe. Tuesday, the Magic Man rides the Chris Waller-trained Buckaroo.
It's another race on the list that I haven't won before.
Unbeaten French star Lazat with Ambassador Grace Hayden to make Rosehill's racing epicentre Saturday. Andrew McKinlay, 7 News.
With the Yankees on the brink of a World Series baseball defeat, 2 rowdy New Yorkers overstepped the mark in a big way in Game 4 against the LA Dodgers.
Toward the corner, Mookie jumps and he's wrestling with the fan.
Check this out, he jumps in, he catches it, and then watch them wrestle with his glove.
Can't do that.
The fans were ejected and a fair catch was ruled for Mookie Betts. But the Yankees got the job done, keeping the series alive with an 11-4 win. The Dodgers lead 3-1. So that's our sport.
Awesome. Thank you, Webby. Checking finance now. The ASX 200 has closed down 69 points. Both major supermarkets fell after Woolworths issued its profit warning. One Australian dollar is currently buying 65.56 US cents.
Shocking new vision is proving bigger isn't always better when it comes to a vehicle's safety.
Cars and utes have been put to the test for this year's used car safety ratings.
Colliding head on. It's not high speed. In fact, these 2 utes were travelling at 64 kilometres an hour, but one fares far better.
You can see that the Colorado much safer than the Great Wall.
The Chinese-made ute rated just 1 star or very poor in this year's used car safety ratings, compared to the 4-star Colorado, and it's not hard to see why.
You're much more likely to sustain severe chest injuries and lower limb injuries in the Great Wall.
This year's ratings out today rank 400 vehicles. Top picks include later models of the Volkswagen Touareg, Mazda 3 and Toyota Camry. Among the worst performers, early models of the Ford Fiesta, Hyundai Accent and Holden Commodore.
They demonstrate dramatically how on the same budget you might get a very different safety result.
Cars manufactured after 2008 often the best, boasting superior design and more advanced safety features.
We know that newer cars are safer.
And a newer model doesn't have to break the bank. More than half of the safest cars on our roads can be picked up second-hand for less than $10,000.
Bearing in mind people are under financial pressure but still get a far safer deal.
Amber Laidler, 7 News.
Fresh hope for millions of migraine sufferers. The cheap and effective treatment backed by research.
And can we back up today's sunshine before the next round of storms? I'll have the forecast next.
There's hope tonight for more than 5 million Australians who suffer from crippling migraines. The latest research revealing Botox is not only one of the most effective treatments, but also one of the cheapest.
Debbie Levy has been suffering from chronic migraines for 44 years.
They can be quite debilitating. I can stay in bed for 2 days if I don't treat it properly.
Set off by stress, tiredness or even too much activity, Debbie turned to Botox 4 years ago to alleviate her crippling episodes.
I used to get a lot of brow burning migraines and that's reduced that almost to a zero.
It's not the only treatment available. New monthly injections are also seeing positive results.
They're blocking a chemical called CGRP, which is the main chemical in the brain that triggers the migraine process.
But new research has found Botox is the most effective and can even be used for optometry patients with double vision.
It's affordable and it's got a Medicare rebate and it costs a couple of $100s to have it done.
To qualify for the Medicare rebate for Botox and new injections, sufferers must experience chronic migraines, which is defined as 8 migraine days a month and 15 headache days a month.
Only a neurologist can inject them, and you need to have failed or have contraindications to 3 other oral, so tablet medications.
For some, they can provide more than just temporary relief.
It can actually be a longer lasting or more permanent fix.
To help sufferers regain their lives.
It's made a big difference to the quality of life.
Samantha Heathwood, 7 News.
Weather now, here's Tony.
Thank you, Max. Today is another one of those in-between days with the odd inland spots or thunderstorms, but most areas stay clear. Now, this shot from Highfields near Toowoomba late afternoon as a lone cell cut through the clear air to the north. Warnings were current for this thunderstorm at the time the picture was taken. For the southeast, mostly cloudy with some light showers near the coast early, then more sunshine into the afternoon. A muggy night and slightly cooler day. Redcliffe, 21 up to 25 degrees. Now, zooming out, we did see those storms along the southern ranges here. Warnings have since been cancelled, but the main activity has been in the northwest of the state. Warnings were issued for damaging wind gusts. We had one report of 104 k's an hour at Lake Julius, northwest of Mount Isa. Now, tomorrow we'll see a trough system here moving closer to the coast, building heat along that coastal stretch, mixed in with some humidity that will increase the chance of shower and thunderstorm activity on the coastal ranges. Around the grounds tomorrow, Sydney, Melbourne and Hobart all looking at some showers. A different story in Perth, sunshine and 33 degrees. Back home to the Queensland, in the tropics, mostly sunny skies for the major east coast centres here, 31 in Cairns, Townsville and Mackay, Mount Isa up to 39. Over southern districts, storms pick up through the afternoon. We're looking at areas sort of near Roma, pushing towards the coast and ranges late, possibly reaching the Wide Bay and Capricornia. Gladstone, 31. In the southeast, partly cloudy skies to start your Halloween Thursday, then inland showers popping up into the afternoon, possibly increasing to some bigger storms well inland late, then the remnants of all of that pushing across towards the coast very late in the day, most likely for the Sunshine Coast. But the thing we'll notice for the most part is that bump in temperatures. Kenmore and Oxley up to 32 degrees. You will need to head to the Bayside to cool down. Out on the water, northerly winds below 20 knots to start, then closer to 25 knots into the afternoon and evening. So in Brisbane, humid on 19 tonight, a hot 31 tomorrow, then that highest chance of any rain comes late. Maybe take the brolly just in case you're headed out trick-or-treating into the evening. Friday brings the highest chance of storms in the next week. Severe cells are possible as a wind change moves across the region. In Ipswich, 33 on Friday with a late storm. That should ease to showers on Saturday. Gold Coasters, well, a late shower on Saturday before drying up on Sunday, but dry for most of the weekend. And on the Sunshine Coast, that same pattern before a hot start into next week. Now, Max, Sarah, Webby, important question. Raining while trick-or-treating, do you cover up the candy or do you eat it straight away?
Eat it.
I'll be eating it, but
Eat it yourself. Time now for tonight's sunny side, and there are plenty of bright designs here to make you smile. Retirees at TriCare Stafford Lakes spent the day working with Brisbane milliner Gina Shaw to create their own fascinators for Melbourne Cup Day. But when it comes to the actual race the women are dressing for,
I don't even know what horse is running. This is more important than clothing.
If you have a feel-good story, we'd love to know about it. Email us at sunnyside@7.com.au. I know a fair few ladies whose focus is the fashion. She's not alone.
Okay, fair enough. I'll get a tip from you then.
You got a hat?
As if.
And that's all from us this Wednesday. Thank you for your company.
For now, from all the team, have a good night.
Good night.
The 7 News app will give you the news you want. Download now.